Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. It's a crisp, cold Monday morning. Just doing 6 miles. Kind of nice, easy recovery pace. Still recovering from the marathon last Sunday. I thought I would have this video where kind of go over the little parts of it, what went wrong, what went well, leading up to the marathon, and give like a general overview of the day, because I didn't record anything while I was there or film anything, so it's pretty much just going to be me talking. Alright, so my training initially went really well. I was hitting my miles, hitting my targets at the training runs. Speed sessions were going fine, long runs fine, very comfortable. I had 18 milers, I can just plough through those. Marathon pace initially started at 6:50 for like the first 1 or 2 weeks, but then I realised like it's not really realistic, so I lowered that down to about 7:10 per pace, which would put me about 3 hours and 7 minutes. But yeah, no niggles, no injuries. I was following the Ben Parks advanced marathon plan, which ranges from about 3 hours or 2 hours 55 to like 3 hours 20, and that's perfect. I think it's a great plan, and yeah, it's not individual, but for £6 I think it's probably great. Gives you a good idea of what you should be doing. But yeah, so that's like it was a 16-week plan, and that's what the first 10 weeks, no, first 12 weeks to say. And then in my peak week, where I was doing about 63 miles, I started to feel a bit of a niggle in my calf, or more the Achilles area. Oh. And then that was during a speed session, and then I kind of carried on running about the week. It wasn't really playing up, and then I had my long run, and it was going well, hit the pace and everything, and about 20 miles in, I just felt this kind of aching pain in the back of my Achilles, but I was able to keep on running, but with a bit of discomfort. And then when I got back a day later, it was just, I was in quite a lot of pain, couldn't really run, struggling to walk a bit as well. And then pretty much from that point on, my training just took a bit of a nosedive. Pretty much in those 4 weeks, I was a bit injured. Kind of 1 week I come back to running, next I'd have to rest it, and then it was just kind of on and off, doing training wherever I can, just try and keep the legs ticking over, because I wasn't going to build any fitness in that 4 weeks, but I just need to make sure my legs were still loose and had a bit of strength in them, ready for the marathon. So training was a bit consequence. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it also wasn't catastrophic. I ran in the Great Welsh Marathon last week. Actually, it would have been last Sunday. Wow, time just flies. And this is about 6 hours away, 6.5 hour car drive from where I live. So that was a fun Saturday, driving from Norwich all the way to like West Wales. So it was a bit of a trek, but went by pretty quickly. So the day before was pretty much driving, and it was raining when we got there, so I couldn't even run. I didn't really want to run in the rain. Why would you? So the morning before, day before, was a bit of a miss. I did want to run, obviously due to the rain, couldn't. And then morning of the race, pretty okay, slept okay, slept as well as you would for a marathon. And then we got out nice and early, didn't forget anything, which is amazing for me. And then as we were driving in, you could see the different areas of the route which were flooded, and that was a bit of dread in my mind. But it's only the start, so you can always just cut that off. Alright, so I guess we can go over like my fueling. So I normally take, well, I find the cheapest gels, which usually are like the high 5 ones, and I take them at 5 miles, and then every 3 miles after that I take one, and I found that just keeps me going, gives me a nice little thing to think about, and in the end it works out that I have a gel at mile 24, I think, which is perfect. Gives you that little extra boost at the end to keep you going. And on the day, I'd say fueling went pretty well. I was wearing a new belt that I had trained with, but sometimes the gels can move across in it, like into different compartments, which is a bit annoying. But I was able to take all my gels. I did have a bit of a stitch. At mile 8 or 9, but I ran through it and it wasn't too bad. It's just like understanding that it probably will go away. It's probably just having too much water and a gel at the same time. But I do think coming onto it next time, I'm going to try and get some electrolyte gels, because I don't want to have to deal with cramping again like I did in this one, which we'll get onto. So then the kind of environment, what was that like? The day before, as I said, it had been absolutely pouring it down, and apparently the week before it had been pouring it down, so there were floods everywhere. I think at the start we had to kind of cut across the route to avoid a big flooded area, and then all throughout the route we were having to go up on like cambers on the side of the path to avoid going through a massive puddle, a bit of a flood actually, I wouldn't really call it a puddle. And then on the way out there were a few headwinds, because obviously this is like a coastal marathon, so you're on the coast the whole time, and there are a few headwinds. But the second we turned around at about mile 14, my god, it was just, you just felt a headwind the whole way. Even trying to run behind someone didn't really work, because everyone else was just dropping out because of the headwind, having to slow down, and it was just quite hard to pace myself then. So I think that played a massive role in how the marathon went. But I think the worst part is just the flood, because you're having to constantly jump around water or kind of be aware of everything going on around you, which is quite tiring for a marathon. Then one of the most important things, which is the pacing. What happened? For the first 13-14 miles, was doing about 7:15s. Was in a group, chatting away with people. It was really nice. It was just felt consistent, felt super duper easy, and I'd have happily been able to do it. Had a few headwinds, but they were only for short little bits, so you could just push through. get on to the next bit. And then the second we turned around, as I said before, we had a headwind and the pace dropped to about 740s, 750s, because it's just so tough to run in that condition. I turned around about 14 miles and it's just constant headwinds. People were dropping out, so it was hard to run in the group, keep pace. I think not having a consistent people to run around was actually one of the hardest parts, because there are people stopping constantly, slowing down, speeding up. It's really hard. And then about a mile 25, no, not 25, oh, stupid, about mile 21, I see. Yeah, about 21. I started feeling a bit of cramping in my right leg, and then about half a mile later I stopped for a bit because I was just absolutely knackered, and then my whole right leg just cramped up. I could barely walk. I could barely even walk. Had to stop for a bit and just try and let the cramping go by. And then after that, it was just try to run for about a mile and then walk about a quarter of a mile to the finish. And funnily enough, everyone around me was doing the same, so it made me feel a bit less bad about stopping. But it just showed how brutal the course was. So overall, most of it went well. The last little bit blew up. I don't think it's because of my pacing. I think I was able to run that distance and run that time, but the conditions are absolutely diabolical, and I think everyone else, well, they felt that, so I don't feel too bad. I think gels, probably need to get electrolyte gels when I'm going to do the next marathon, but I think for now I'm going to start focusing on more 10k half marathon stuff, trying to get that speed, more speediness in the legs, and it means I don't have to do 4 months of training for a race that could just easily go wrong on the day. So I hope you enjoyed that little recap, and I'll see you next time.